Bethany Rivard, she's amazing. Absolutely amazing, the gift she has, not just as an English teacher, but for the relationship she carries with her students and faculty.
This is a woman who is tireless.
She's kind of everywhere.
It's like she has an extra gene, a teaching gene in her DNA.
In our department, we tease Bethany because she's the busiest human being in the world.
It's like wherever she's needed, there's Bethany.
She's on about 6 committees in the community.
Bethany is both a leader, union level at the building, and also, really at the district and state level.
She's on a state board, Professional Standards and Practices Board, appointed by Governor Inslee.
She's a very strong advocate for mental health.
Bethany's kind of the heart of the school. She's the mom.
During the strike, Bethany's role was the communications. She was the spokesperson.
She's an awesome mom. She has 2 wonderful daughters.
That woman must write 50 to 60 letters of recommendation a year for her students, and then when they go on and they need more, she continues to write them.
She supervises, I think, 4 student clubs.
She's just one of those people that you hear about as being legendary. She's considering running for a school board position in Evergreen.
Bethany really prioritizes bringing art into the classroom, and there's pieces that are not just celebrating the English department and our reading literature curriculum, but those pieces of art that celebrate our culture and our diversity, and she's able to bring both.
I grew up in such a rural place in between Great Falls, Montana and Fort Benton, Montana, that I went to a one-room schoolhouse. There was 3 other kids besides me. And then we moved to Livingston, Montana, where it was a massive town of 7,000 people. And my high school was small. I needed to get out of Montana and have other experiences. So when I moved to New York, it was a complete paradigm shift for me. I mean, Montana is amazing and I love it, but it is homogenous, or at least where I grew up was a lot of the same kind of people. I wasn't really exposed to other cultures, and so New York City was an education in itself.
First thing you're gonna do is introduce yourself to each other. Just say your name and introduce yourself.
I said hi. No, you I was like, you know what you said?
All right, here's your question. What brings you the most happiness in life, and why?
I love my mom.
Hanging around with friends, honestly, family. It's like family, friends always makes me happy.
Some of the students don't know each other yet, and we're asking them to get into groups together and to mix with each other. So this is one way for them to quickly get to know each other and to acknowledge one another before they're working on projects.
Okay, ready for the next one? What we're gonna do now?
As an English language arts teacher, we have the fortune of reading the narratives of the students in our classes, and because I was reading those narratives and getting those stories from students, I realized that there was a bunch of stories not being told, and many barriers that were not even being addressed in school culture at all. In fact, I had no idea that undocumented students couldn't get a federal loan 8 or 10 years ago. I had no idea until a student ran into that brick wall and I had to go through it with them, that I realized how many things were stacked against her. Valedictorian, she was captain of the wrestling team, she was ASB president 4.0, and couldn't get a loan to go to college. And so when my students tell me these stories, then I know that they're up against something fierce, and I feel like I have a position of privilege that I can help bring those things to the center so that we're all paying attention to why every student can't succeed, not because they're not smart enough or not because they're not bright enough. It's because literally the cards are all stacked against them. And we expect them to succeed in the face of all odds, and some do. But we have in the society many barriers, especially against undocumented students. That's been a real eye-opener for me, and it's my students who teach me.
I've witnessed many students really just find their voice through Bethany. She allows them to be who they are.
I think that story is everything. I think it's the only thing. A story humanizes another. A story helps you empathize with another person. It helps you put yourself in their shoes and create that compassion. I think it's really hard to argue with the story. It's hard to argue with someone's authentic experience. It is what it is.
She's very warm and open. She sort of sets a tone and creates an environment where the kids feel safe to talk to her about a lot of different things.
The kids just call her mom. I'll have a kid in my class and he'll say, hey, can I get a pass? I gotta go see mom about my application. It's just like, I know who he's talking about.
I always go to her to look for advice whenever I need help or get stuck with something that's too personal for me to tell anybody else.
I feel very, very fortunate to be in this building where students at home are speaking 40 different languages, where we have students coming from every place on the globe and making friendships and making connections with one another. I feel like this building, I was meant to be here.
Just 10 years ago, we were only at about 15-20% going on to four-year colleges and community colleges. Now we're up to about 50% of our kids going on to school. Bethany Rivard made that change a lot.
When I got here, college wasn't necessarily an expectation. And when Bethany came and she started working with seniors, it was for her. And that has sort of permeated the entire school.
Yeah, she had like basically a lot more confidence in me than I did in myself.
6 or 7 years ago, I would not have been able to make a board filled with names of people being admitted into colleges. Now I have to make a new board because there are so many students. And I think it's a combination, a partnership with the secretary that worked in the Career Center. She and I just combed through every student, saw what they needed, worked with them individually, and we would just both work with that student and step by step take them through that process.
The magic isn't magic. It's kids know when a teacher genuinely likes them and genuinely cares about them. You can't fake it. They smell fake. Bethany's always been genuine with all of her kids, and they know she legitimately cares about them.
Teacher power! Trapper power!
I've never been on a strike before. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. What surprised me most was the support of the community, the support of other unions, that union solidarity. And I saw what we can all accomplish when we band together and have one voice. And that is not something that you can do individually.
We didn't really have union meetings before the strike in the way that we do now. We have a lot of members coming together and continuing that collective voice in issues in our building.
Unions are our only chance to have our voices be heard. I think that the reason that I'm still in this business after 13 years is because I really deeply care for and empathize with my students. I bring their stories home with me every night. I lose sleep over it. I think about what they have to go through. It's really not an option for me not to care. I just care very, very, very deeply about my students.
We all in this, yeah!